may consult with Washington to change the date of Key Resolve, a computer-based war game. North Korea has long denounced the exercises, calling them a rehearsal for invasion. Seoul is hoping Pyongyang will take part in the Winter Olympics as a way to ease tensions on the peninsula. The nation's presidential office says nothing has been discussed or decided on changing the date for the drills.
South Korea and China's foreign ministers met in Beijing on Wednesday. Laying the groundwork for President Moon Jae-in's trip to the Chinese capital next month topped the agenda. The two sides agreed that the visit will take place around mid-December with the aim to strengthen and enhance the South Korea-China relationship. That relationship has been tested over the last year after Beijing objected to Seoul's decision to deploy the US THAAD anti-missile system on Korean soil. Despite the two governments reaching an understanding over the issue and announcing their intent to re-normalize relations last month, Beijing's top diplomat Wang Yi began the meeting warning Seoul that they need to uphold their end of the agreement to make sure THAAD does not encroach on China's national security interests.
There's a Chinese saying, promises must be kept, actions must yield results. We hope the South Korean side will continue to appropriately handle this matter.
Seoul's Foreign Minister Kang Kyung-hwa in turn said she considered the agreement a valuable outcome and hoped that it would resolve difficulties for Korean business activities, referring to unofficial economic sanctions Beijing had imposed on Korea in retaliation to THAAD.
We both realize that continued conflict is in neither of our interests, so we have reached this outcome.
Talks also moved on to North Korea. According to Seoul's foreign ministry, Wang reaffirmed Beijing's intent to continue carrying out UN sanctions, but added that they will use their diplomatic efforts to help create the conditions for talks with the regime. Kang said the two nations should work together on that endeavor, while at the same time making sure to suppress North Korea's nuclear activities. The two ministers are said to have carried on discussions through to a dinner after the meeting, spending some 5 hours together in total.
Placing flowers and paying tribute to the two loved sons, friends, and comrades, November 23rd is a solemn day for South Korean citizens. It was on this day 7 years ago that North Korea bombarded South Korea's Yeonpyeong-do Island. Over 200 people gathered at Daejeon National Cemetery on Thursday for a commemoration ceremony, and heavy snowfall added to the somber atmosphere.
It's already 7 years ago, but I remember that day was very cold, just like today. Today we miss and pay respect to the two soldiers who died while carrying out their duty. I hope the whole nation remembers them with one heart.
On November 23, 2010, North Korea fired 170 artillery shells at South Korea's Yeonpyeong-do Island, located south of the northern limit line and 110 kilometers west of the capital Seoul. The attack left 2 soldiers and 2 residents dead and 16 injured. It also damaged military facilities and civilian structures. 7 years have passed, but the bombardment of Yeonpyeong-do Island is still vividly recollected and is seen as one of the worst inter-Korean clashes since the Korean War. The Marine Corps honored the brave deeds of the soldiers who fought this tough battle against North Korea and promised to secure peace for the South Korean people.
Still, North Korea is raising tensions with its unpredictable provocations and continuous nuclear and missile tests. We, the Marine Corps, are well aware of the security situation and are maintaining the highest level of military readiness to protect South Korea and the northwestern islands.
To remember this day, the Marine Corps also held a special drill on Thursday afternoon at the exact time when North Korea launched the attack on Yeonpyeong-do Island.
This moment sent a very clear, obvious signal of friendship and reconciliation to China after some problems such as THAAD deployment in South Korea. As we all know, in past few months, just because of the situation on the Korean peninsula, and because of deployment of THAAD system, there has been some trouble between the two countries. And then the foreign minister's visit to Beijing is maybe a very active and positive signal to both sides, to the international community.
Professor Kim, what is your take on the timing and purpose of your foreign minister's visit to China?
this is just on time because Song Tao just visited North Korea and the other senior officers are now visiting Korea also. And our Prime Minister visiting China perhaps discuss about further visiting of our President Moon Jae-in. And the other one is we should discuss about around North Korea's nuclear weapons problem. And the other one, perhaps we should talk about cooperations between China and Korea on Pyeongchang Olympics. And further things, we should also talk about the problem should be solved around between China and Korea on THAAD problem. It's not solved, not yet clearly.
Yeah, well, you both talk about the THAAD issue. Let's talk about it. I mean, since a couple of weeks, the situation has gotten better between the two sides. What exactly has led to the warming or the thawing of relations, Professor Xiong, that the ROK has made the pledge of 3 no's, right? Not to join, for instance, the trilateral military alliance with the United States and Japan, and not to further deploy any additional THAAD battery. What are the reasons behind the warming of relations between the two sides?
On the whole, although there are some disputes between South Korea and China, especially around the issue of THAAD deployment, although South Korea is one of the allied countries of the United States, China on the whole has traditional, historic, and cultural relations to South Korea. And in geography, China is also located in the neighborhood of South Korea, and China is also a very important economic partner of South Korea. All in all, China is vital for South Korea's national interests, not only economic interests, but also security interests. And so, for South Korea, the best choice for its national interest may be a partner of China and another country of the United States simultaneously.
Professor Kim, what is the development on the THAAD deployment here? I mean, the ROK has pledged not to deploy additional THAAD system, but it has not said that it will dismantle the ones that have already been installed. What is the difficulty there for the ROK government?
Yeah. On the THAAD problem, our government's main thing is that it's only focused to North Korea's nuclear weapons. Is not toward to China. But in the international politics around North Korea and Northeast Asia, we also have good relationships with United States. There is one of kind of weapon shared together in Korea, but our main thing only focused to North Korea, but perhaps China, and think is the other ways. Perhaps the weapons are harmed to China's core interest. But my thinking is that, also my argument is that we should solve the problem. What is secretary around Northeast Asia and the main issues between China and Korea. So around the THAAD problem, we should stop discussing more certainly. And we should find how to cooperate to countries in economic fields and the security fields and the cooperations on North Korea nuclear weapon problems. It's the main.
Sri Lankan President Maithripala Sirisena will make a state visit to Korea next week, marking the 40th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic ties between the two sides.
The two leaders will evaluate the past 4 years of bilateral relations and discuss ways to increase practical cooperation in various areas, both bilaterally and multilaterally.
According to the top office, Sri Lanka's president's 3-day visit will reflect the administration's new southern policy, which aims at expanding Korea's diplomatic horizon. The Sri Lankan leader would be the third state guest to visit the country since President Moon Jae-in took office back in May.
This year marks the 25th anniversary of diplomatic ties between Korea and Uzbekistan. Through Uzbek President Mirziyoyev's state visit, officials from the two nations hope to further strengthen those ties.
Undoubtedly, the state visit of the Republic of Uzbekistan to Korean Republic will give the most powerful impulse the future development of both countries and the future development of all the spheres of economy, including the pharmaceutical spheres.
Today, Korea is one of Uzbekistan's most important investment partners, and Uzbekistan is Korea's largest trading partner in Central Asia, with annual trade consistently exceeding $2 billion in recent years. President Mirziyoyev's visit coincides with the Korea-Uzbekistan Business Forum, which was held in Seoul on Thursday, aimed at strengthening economic ties between the two countries.
We believe this is going to be a remarkable visit, as we signed a huge package of documents amounting $10 billion. Among those 10 billion, 4.2 billion we expect is going to be direct investments in various areas of our economy, such as infrastructure.
As well as economic ties, Korea and Uzbekistan have close cultural links too. 2017 marks the 80th year since the settlement of Korean migrants in Central Asia. Among the 500,000 ethnic Koreans, also known as Koryoin, who migrated to Central Asia, more than 180,000 settled in Uzbekistan. Korea and Uzbekistan have this shared history, as well as their shared economic interests. The Uzbekistan president's state visit will help the two countries develop this relationship further.
South Korean President Moon Jae-in rolled out the red carpet for his second state guest, Uzbek President Shavkat Mirziyoyev, for an official welcome ceremony complete with honor guards, national anthems, and children waving national flags of the two countries. Meeting for their first bilateral summit ever, the two presidents, still fairly new in office, noted their strong, mutually beneficial relationship that Seoul and Tashkent have been able to build over the last quarter century.
우즈벡은 중앙아시아 국가 중 우리의 최대 교역국입니다. 한국은 우즈벡의 5대 교역국이자 3위 투자국이며 나는 양국 관계가 더욱 폭넓게 발전할 수 있는 그런 무한한 잠재력과 가능성을 가지고 있다고 생각합니다.
The Uzbek leader reaffirmed his support for President Moon's new northern policy, which is aimed at building an Eurasian economic community by boosting South Korea's ties with Russia and other Central Asian countries.
I would like to once again express Uzbekistan's strong and absolute support for South Korea's policy on North Korea's nuclear issue, diplomatic resolution for peace and security on the Korean Peninsula.
Concluding their first one-on-one, the two leaders signed a joint statement on comprehensive development of the strategic partnership between South Korea and Uzbekistan, which outlines a boost in relations in everything from politics and trade to culture and people-to-people exchange. And that exchange was further highlighted during the state dinner hosted by South Korea's first couple. Guests and menu reflecting the popularity of South Korea's television series Daejanggeum, and delegation represented by high-profile ethnic Koreans in the Uzbek community.
지난 80년 동안 우리 두 나라 사이의 우정은 더욱 빛났습니다. 우즈벡 국민들은 우리 고려인 동포들을 따뜻하게 품어주었고 함께 화합과 공존의 공동체를 만들었습니다.
I am proud to say that I have become close friends with President Moon Jae-in, whose direction of state affairs and management coincides with mine. We will together bring our bilateral relations to a whole new level in the near future.